Greetings and peace. I would like to start this with Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, in the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Most Merciful, and Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Peace be with you and yours. Today's presentation is going to be an in-depth book review by our brother Saliym Hakiym, who is from Prince Hall Lodge number 57 in Philadelphia. His book, Decoding Masonic Symbolism, which is a beautiful book, and I will put the link in the description below where you can get this book and support this great brother's work. Disclaimer and fair use. Before we begin our deep dive into the esoteric mysteries of Freemasonry, it is important to explicitly state that this presentation is created entirely for educational and entertainment purposes, falling safely under fair use guidelines, with permission from Brother Saliym to review his book. We are exploring the philosophical, historical, and biological allegories hidden within the craft to better understand its profound teachings. The knowledge shared here is a synthesis meant to provoke thought and spiritual awakening, not to violate any sacred obligations. The search for light. The path of Freemasonry is not a static destination, but a lifelong journey transitioning from darkness into light. For centuries, the craft has preserved its deepest esoteric truths within a beautiful system of morality, heavily veiled in allegory and illustrated by ancient symbols. Yet, the true secrets are not merely whispered in tiled lodges. They are discovered through personal contemplation. This presentation bridges Masonic eras, translating historical knowledge into actionable wisdom. We look upon familiar symbols with entirely new eyes. So there's an application phase of knowledge that is being taught here, how to apply that knowledge to your life. The alchemical trestle board. When dissecting the esoteric blueprint of the lodge, we must first confront the alchemical trestle board. This is not merely a drawing board for speculative architecture. It is the fundamental schematic for human spiritual transmutation. The lodge floor represents a crucible where the raw, unrefined elements of human nature are tested. The allegories we enact are chemical processes for the soul, designed to burn away the dross of ignorance and reveal the golden essence of the enlightened self. The shrouded columns. The veil of the shrouded columns speaks to the great mystery of dual procession. Jachin and Boaz are not just historical markers of Solomon's temple. They are the pillars of polarity within the human experience, mercy and severity, light and darkness, physical and spiritual. When these columns are shrouded, they signify a period of internal incubation, a state of unmanifested potential. The candidate passing between them is stepping out of the profane timeline and entering into the sacred, suspended reality of the lodge's esoteric dimension. Counterclockwise diazel. The circumambulation within the lodge holds profound significance, particularly when examining the concept of the counterclockwise diazel. To move against the natural rotation of the earth is to assert spiritual will over the mechanical laws of nature. This sealed vessel of the lodge space contains the energetic friction generated by this movement. By symbolically unwinding the mortal matrix, the brethren begin the process of untethering the soul from the strict constraints of mundane linear time. Extinguishing the lights. The extinguishing of the lesser lights during specific Masonic rites is a profound symbol of esoteric death and the suspension of the outer senses. The sun, the moon, and the master of the lodge guide our visible path, but their deliberate darkening points to an inner reality. In this induced darkness, the candidate is forced to rely solely on their internal compass. It teaches that true illumination does not come from external authorities or celestial bodies, but it is a spark that must be ignited from the divine void within the human heart. And that's why when you're blindfolded during the entered apprentice degree, you are taught to trust God and do not fear any danger, right? In a state of darkness and unknowing, you must, with full conviction, put one foot in front of the other. Severing the cable toe. The severing of the cable toe is perhaps one of the most misunderstood esoteric markers. While often viewed merely as a physical tether during initiation, its severing marks the exact moment of spiritual emancipation for the newly obligated brother. It represents the cutting of the umbilical cord to the profane world. The initiate is no longer bound by blind societal impulses or base passions. They are now anchored entirely by the length and strength of their own moral obligations and spiritual integrity. The biological temple. Freemasonry is not only the study of stone architecture, it is a veiled study of human biology and embryology. The building of King Solomon's temple is the profound allegory for the gestation and the spiritual birth of the human being. The gates of life. The biological temple begins at the very gates of life. When esoteric masonry references the dimensions and the building materials of the temple, we are actually looking at the genetic scaffolding of human embryology. The stones hewn in the quarries are the cellular building blocks. The silence in which the temple was built, without the sound of axe or iron tool, perfectly describes the silent, miraculous division of cells in the womb during human gestation. Architecture and chromosomes. The architecture of development is intricately tied to biological numerology. The two great pillars, often associated with a height of 18 cubits and a chapiter of 5, combine to total 23. This is no esoteric accident. It mirrors the 23 pairs of chromosomes from each parent. Jachin and Boaz are the genetic contributions of the father and the mother, establishing the structural integrity of the biological temple. The human body is the true lodge, governed by the geometric laws of nature and the divine blueprint. Trimesters and gestation. The winding stairs leading to the middle chamber, separated into distinct flights, correspond beautifully to the trimesters of human gestation. The 3 degrees of Blue Lodge Masonry correlate directly to these 3 critical phases of biological development. It takes roughly 270 days for the temple of the human body to be completed in the womb. The esoteric journey up the winding stairs is the ascent of consciousness, integrating with the biological form, preparing for its ultimate entrance into the light of the world. Biological resurrection. The climax of the Master Mason degree is an allegory of biological resurrection. The strong grip of the lion's paw is the vital life force pulling the initiated consciousness out from the decayed tomb of ignorance and pure materialism. This resurrection is not merely a spiritual concept. It implies an awakening of the dormant biological faculties within the brain and nervous system. The candidate is raised to a new perceptual reality, standing complete as the sanctum sanctorum, the Holy of Holies. Monad and meridian. Brother Saliym points to a critical historical tragedy, the loss of the esoteric core. The concept of the monad, the ultimate indivisible source of reality, has been replaced by bureaucratic administrative focus within modern lodges. The institutional amputation of the esoteric curriculum has left many modern Masons with the scaffolding of the craft, but entirely devoid of the building itself. We have memorized the meridian lines of the rituals, but forgotten the celestial mechanics they actually map. Esoteric demolition. This indictment of the modern Tyler highlights how we guard against physical intruders, but fail to guard against the intrusion of mundane triviality. The true demolition of the curriculum happened when brothers traded spiritual alchemy for civic titles. Today's Masons are often too busy chasing degrees that they forget the symbols and allegories are meant to transform them spiritually. The history of the organization provides pride, but only the esoteric application of the symbols can provide inner salvation. Genesis and the Lodge. The foundational degree work of the Lodge is an exact mirror of the first chapter of Genesis. The command, "Let there be light," is not just a cosmic event. It is the psychological awakening of the candidate at the altar of Freemasonry. The lodge room itself is a microcosm of the created universe, oriented east to west, aligning with the solar path. Every action within the lodge is a reenactment of the divine structuring of order out of primal chaos. The all-seeing eye. Suspended in the east is the radiant letter G, accompanied by the all-seeing eye. While superficially denoting geometry and God, esoterically they represent the awakened pineal gland and the divine intelligence that permeates all matter. The letter G reminds the modern Mason that geometry is the language of creation. The all-seeing eye is the localized witness within man, proving that the grand architect is not a distant deity, but an active, observing presence within the human mind. The two Holy Saints John. The dedication of lodges to the Holy Saints John of Jerusalem conceal deep astronomical wisdom. John the Baptist and John the Evangelist represent the summer and winter solstices, the astronomical boundaries of the sun's journey. They are the parallel lines bounding the circle of the year and the spiritual boundaries of a Mason's conduct. To remain within these bounds is to maintain harmony with natural cosmic cycles, ensuring that passions are kept perfectly in check. Point within a circle. The point within a circle is the ultimate symbol of the individual's relationship to the divine infinite. The point is the individual brother, grounded and centered, while the circle represents the boundary line of his duty to God and humanity. By keeping ourselves on the point, we cannot materially err or make any errors in our life. This ancient Egyptian symbol of the sun and the monad teaches us that the true power comes from the absolute central stillness amidst the chaotic, rotating circumference of daily life. The meaning of Hiram. The tragedy of Hiram Abiff is the central pillar of Masonic allegory. Hiram is not merely a historical widow's son. He is the personification of the human soul, striving for perfection, only to be struck down by the ruffians of ignorance, ambition, and greed. His death and raising is the blueprint for the architecture of meaning. The recovery of the lost word is the realization that the divine truth, once thought buried under the rubbish of the temple, resides permanently within the resurrected initiate. The chamber of reflection serves as the necessary psychological descent before the ascent into light. Surrounded by symbols of mortality, the skull, the hourglass, the scythe, the candidate is forced to confront their own impending dissolution. This alchemical phase of putrefaction ensures the ego is sufficiently broken down. Vitriol, vitriol, which in Latin is visita interiora terrae, rectificando in Venus occultum lapidum, which demands that we visit the interior of the earth to find the hidden stone. The tragedy of the ashlar. The journey from the rough ashlar to the perfect ashlar represents the lifetime labor of a Freemason. However, Brother Saliym warns of the tragedy of the perfect ashlar, the illusion that moral perfection is a static final destination. In reality, the stone is never entirely finished. The true working tools must be continuously applied, as the pressure of the profane world constantly attempts to chip away at the moral squareness of our character. Vigilance is the eternal price of light. So that's why we are taught to be cautious always. Thank you so much for watching. And again, I hope you benefited from Brother Saliym Hakiym's teachings, who is encouraging all Masons to reclaim the esoteric sciences and teachings and apply those teachings to your life, and also bring that science back into the craft where it's severely lacking. And Brother Saliym is a great brother. I will put the link in the description below where you can get his book from the Book Patch website, and please support him. And I thank you all for watching. If any questions or comments, please email me at salmansheikh911@gmail.com. And all my work is under the copyright laws of fair use for free speech, education, entertainment, and nonprofit purposes. Thank you so much. All rights reserved.